If you think it's too early to start listing Christmas products in July, you'd be wrong. Q4 refers to the last 3 months of the year, and in the retail world, it's one of the biggest times of year for sales and profit. On Etsy, there is one product in particular that does consistently well every single year, and that is ornaments. You can see from this trend line in eRank that searches for ornaments start to rise in July and peak in November with a whopping 200,000 searches. Since starting with print on demand on Etsy in 2022, I've always been primarily an apparel girl, so I made it my mission for this year to sample all of the different ornament options in order to compare them and find the best. For today's video, I'll share my findings with you along with some key tips on how to sell them if you are wanting to add ornaments to your shop this year. And stick around with me till the end and we'll even design one together. In case we haven't met yet, my name is Mandy. As someone who got their start in the handmade world, I am completely obsessed with freedom from fulfillment using Etsy print on demand, and my goal now is to provide you with strategies to simplify the journey so that you can start making progress in your own business. First, let's talk about all of the different options. I use Printify as my provider, and their catalog of ornament options continues to grow every single year as ornaments continue to become more and more popular. The first one that we'll take a look at is the acrylic ornament. This is from Printed Mint inside the Printify catalog. It's a relatively thin ornament, but it is really nice and sturdy. It's going to be lighter weight than a standard glass ornament or even a ceramic one. It does come with the little tie. Fun little fact on these loops, there is a specific way to tie these if you or your customers want to hang them so that they are facing forward on the tree. So I'll include a little bonus clip at the end to show you how to do that, because most of the ornaments that I sampled, the tie was just loose inside the packaging, so it will need to be tied on. I do use Printify Premium to keep my costs lower with Printify. If you'd like a discount code for that, I'll include mine in the description below. So my Printify Premium cost for this was $7.46 with a shipping cost of $4.79. Now, one of the things that I like to do when I am thinking about how I will price these is I head out to the market and I just get a sense of what other sellers are selling theirs for. Make sure you're always clicking into listings to really see what the actual price is, because sometimes they will have different options in their drop down in order to show a lower price. The other thing that you can do is you can use eRank. Normally you would do this to see keywords, but there is actually a tab that you can click into, and that will show you the SERP analysis. And SERP is a search engine results page. So essentially it's an analysis of the top 100 listings that their system found in Etsy search for the keywords that you're using. So in this case, the average price was $16.86. And you can also see some of the popular tags that you could be incorporating into your titles as well as your tags. So if I were thinking about selling this ornament myself, because remember, there's going to be a lot of handmade sellers in the mix here, and so they can price at a lower price point, I would be looking at a retail price of $18.99 and then charge $5.99 as separate shipping, which would leave you with a profit of $6.46 if you were also running a 20% sale, which I always make sure when I am factoring in my profit and my pricing, I make sure that I'm factoring in the ability to run some sort of sale on a fairly regular basis so that I can create a sense of urgency and continue to drive traffic in a marketplace like Etsy. The next ornament that I tried out was the glass ornament. Now, this is one that I really wanted to try because it just seems like a very premium option compared to what we normally see out there. Similar to the acrylic, the design is actually printed on the back, and so you can see it through the front, and the front then becomes very smooth. Similar to the acrylic, the printing and the coloring did come out quite nice compared to the original design that I made this with. Because it is glass, it does have a pretty good heft to it. So again, it just feels like a very premium option compared to some of the other ones that I tried out. The glass ornaments are also from Printed Mint, and because again they are a thicker, more premium option, the price is also more premium. So the Printify premium cost for these was $10.92 with a shipping cost of $6.09. Again, if I were looking at the analysis on eRank, an average out on the marketplace was around 24. Again, a lot of variation, but right around 24 is an average. I wouldn't go too much higher than this as a price point, just again, try and remain competitive and make sure that you're not pricing yourself out of the market. You can definitely sell these higher though, because they are nicer and customers will pay for them. Customers will also pay for good designs that aren't like everything else that's on the marketplace. So keep that in mind, just like you would with t-shirts or any other products that you're selling. Don't race to the bottom, price for profit, and focus on making good designs that people will want to spend the money on. So in this case, my suggested retail price to start with would be right around $25.99 with $6.99 for shipping, and that would bring you to a profit of $7.68. Again, assuming that there is a 20% sale happening. Obviously, if you're not running a sale all the time, the profit would be a bit higher in this case. Next on the list was wood ornaments. So these are quite large. I got the oval one. They do have a few different shapes. These are from the Printify provider WOYC, and the premium cost for these was $5.98 with a shipping cost of $5.49. I like these. It's probably had one of the best print on it and one of the most accurate. So it's printed on the front. It does have a tie. With these, there's also a small little magnet on the back as well. You get the whole no matter what, but it could also be used as a magnet, as a different option that you could use as a selling point in the listing itself if you wanted to. It's a fairly thick ornament. It's lightweight, but it is thicker. The sides are unfinished, so there's a couple little rough spots, but not too bad. One thing I noticed on Etsy is that the price point for these are a bit lower, and part of that had to do with the fact that a lot of the ornaments that I saw for wood were really small. But in general, the price point was lower, and so when I ran the analysis, even in eRank, it showed an average price point of around $12, which again is pretty low. I think these, because of the size, could go higher and withstand a higher selling price. So in this case, I would start around $15.99 and then $5.99 for shipping, which leaves you with a profit of just a little over $5. So the profit on this one is going to be a little bit lower, but there are definitely some unique things that you could do with it, not only in the design itself, because it is a bigger surface to design on, but there's also additional shapes too that you might not see as much on the marketplace, which again, if there's not many like it, you can set a higher price point because people will pay for something that is unique and different. Next up on the list was metal ornaments, and these are from Pick the Gift. Much like the wood one, the printing on these was really nice because the surface is smooth, and so the printing process just comes out really well. It does come again with a nice loop that needs to be tied on. These metal ornaments are quite thin, so that's one thing to keep in mind. I would make sure it's really clear in the listing how thin these are, just so that you can really set customer expectations for these, and so that when they open it, they're not surprised by, again, a really thin ornament. But overall, they do look really nice. They're lightweight, and so the fact that you can get these at a lower price point does have some benefits with it. The Printify premium cost for these is only $3.33, so it's definitely a lower production price, and then the shipping cost is $5.49. If we take a look at the analysis of 100 different listings in eRank, you can see the average price was around $14.69. Definitely make sure you're looking in your niches as well and doing specific, for example, nurse ornaments or teacher ornaments, just to see what those different price points are so that you can set a price that is going to reflect the value but also doesn't necessarily price you out of the market either. So based on what I saw in the marketplace, I don't think you'd be able to get away with a super high price point, but I would be pricing these right around $14.99 as a starting place with $5.99 as shipping. So you'd still get a profit of around $7. I would test that out as a starting place and see how they go. The next ornament that I tried out, I was super excited about because it's brand new to the Printify catalog this year, and that is these cute little sled ornaments from District Photo. And they definitely take on more of a handmade look to them just because they are well constructed. You can see that the legs of the sled are metal and everything is kind of screwed together. It's not glued, so it will actually stay together quite nicely. It comes with the string already attached to it, and then the printing is right here in the middle. Now this is a fairly small surface, so you'll be a little bit limited in the types of designs that you'd be able to use for it, just because, much like with sublimation on ceramic ornaments, which we'll talk about in a minute, the sublimation can have a little bit of a ghosting effect around the print area, which can make it sometimes look a little bit blurry. So you're not going to want print that is too small. And because of the small surface area, it would need to get pretty small. So just make sure with your designs that you're keeping that in mind and that you're making sure you're not trying to fit too much on one small surface area. But otherwise, the ornament itself is super cute. It's well constructed. It does have a little bit of a rustic look because the edges in some places aren't entirely finished. So you can see there's little divots here and there. But overall, I think it just adds to kind of a rustic charm with it, which people like to have for their ornaments. And again, it's something that is very unique and different. Now, because this is a newer product, there are some that are starting to come onto the marketplace, and the selling price that I'm seeing for these is really all over the place. So if you can get a unique design on these and get them to the right customer, I think you can really set a strong price and have some strong profit with this one. The Printify Premium cost for these is $8.33 with a shipping cost of only $3.99, making it one of the most cost-effective ones out there, which I find really interesting given that it is kind of an awkward size to ship. That being said, if we take a look at some of the early results that are showing up in the analysis for sled type ornaments, you can see that there's an average price already of around $20. So I would even start my retail price on these at least $21.99 and then a shipping price of $5.99. And in this case, your profit would be about $8.57, again, assuming you're running a sale at least periodically in there as well. So there's definitely some strong profit that could be had with this one and would be a great option. And then finally, I had to try the old standby ceramic ornaments. The primary provider for these on Printify has been Imagineer Photos. And so that is the one that I tried for this one. One of the things that I noticed, and that is common with sublimation, especially on a surface like ceramic, is that you do get a little bit of ghosting around the printing area. And so you do see that here. And I do know from previous years being in the Printify Rockstars Facebook group, as well as in my own private community, that sometimes that printing can be a little hit or miss due to largely the nature of the printing process. And so I will caution that ceramic ornaments are prone to more printing issues, which can then of course cause customer issues. So just keep that in mind. One of the other options that I tested with the ceramic ornaments was through Duplium, which is another provider that I like to use for tote bags, as well as a backup provider for apparel. And they do quite well. And I tried their ceramic ornament, and I actually like the printing a lot better there. It came out a lot more crisp and a lot closer to the coloring than this one did, which was a little bit darker. This one is on a lighter side, but I would say color-wise is a bit more accurate to the original print. And there was less ghosting that I noticed on the print itself. The downside with that is that the shipping from a Canadian provider is quite a bit more expensive. So unfortunately, it would really cut into profit. So that being said, your best bet if you wanted to sell ceramic ornaments would probably be to roll the dice with Imagine Your Photos. And the premium cost for those through Imagine Your Photos is $444 with a shipping cost of $589. Now, ceramic ornaments are one of the most popular ornaments that are out on Etsy. So with that in mind, kind of like with t-shirts, you will see a lot of very low priced items. And so I saw that reflected definitely when I looked at the search engine analysis results from Etsy and eRank, because the average price was right around $15 specifically for ceramic ornaments. And with that in mind, I do think, again, if you've got a good design on it and you're really creating something for your ideal buyer, they will be willing to pay a little bit more. And so I think you could reasonably have a price of $17.99 with $5.99 shipping and still have a profit of $7.67 in that case with a sale. But again, keep in mind that there is a bit more risk, I would say, in terms of the potential for customer issues. And for me personally, that's one of the reasons why I haven't offered ceramic ornaments myself, even though they've always been very, very popular. And again, some sellers do very well with them. They certainly have a high volume of sales with them. The only downside is that there is the risk of having to deal with more customer issues as a result, or having to do some reprints as a result. I think if you are clear in your listing photos, as well as creating your designs in a way where you're not having print that's too small, you can stand a better chance of having the ornaments turn out really nice. Ultimately, if I were adding ornaments to my shop, my top choices would be the acrylic ornament if you're looking for more of a standard price point option, or the glass or sled ornament for a more premium option. Again, I personally do not want to deal with the increased risk of customer issues associated with ceramic ornaments, especially if you do get listings that take off. If I had to pick just one to add to my shop, because remember, here we are all about keeping our product options streamlined so that we can scale our shops and products effectively and not have a million products in one shop, I would go with the glass ornament. It feels far more premium than most of the other options, and I think customers will really appreciate the quality that it has with it. It'll also have more flexibility on the designs compared to the sled, which I do also really like, and depending on your niche, that could be a better option for you and your shop. So it's really also important to think about who your customer is and who you're ultimately trying to sell to. Now, once you have your ornament of choice, then it becomes important to think about how you're going to approach selling it and designing for it in order to reach your ideal buyers and get sales. Just like any other product you're adding to your shop, you'll want to make sure that you're adding products with intention. Just because you're adding ornaments to your shop doesn't mean you should just be adding general Christmas designs to your ornaments. If you've got some niches already built in your shop, or if you're at least starting to see some traction with them and have done some initial research, then that should be the first place that you start when thinking about ornaments. So for example, if you've got products already for pediatric nurses, work on ornaments that may appeal to that ideal buyer for that specific niche or sub-niche. Personalization would, of course, do really well here and tends to be what a lot of people are looking for with ornaments. It's definitely where the demand is and where most of the top sellers are in terms of design. Another example might be gifts for individuals who are retiring from or just starting a profession that you're already selling it. For example, a teacher that's retiring or someone's first Christmas as a nurse. Other niches that perform well for ornaments are life milestones or keepsakes for those life milestones. This could be pregnancy announcements, weddings, first Christmas as new parents, new dog moms. You can also use ornaments for adjacent niches for your shop. One visual that I like to use when I'm thinking about expanding niches is a tree with lots of branches, right? The trunk of that tree is your overall theme or broad niche, and the branches are where all the possibilities are that are still related and rooted in that initial theme. Let's say you built a shop around bachelorettes. You might already have some bachelorette shirts with themes like disco or camping, but adjacent niches that you could expand into are things like his and her honeymoon shirts, wedding party gifts, anniversary shirts or gifts. And in this case, for ornaments, anniversary or first Christmas together ornaments would be a great addition while still reaching a similar audience. Remember, you've already put the time and effort into researching the niches that you're already selling in. So if you can leverage that as much as possible and build on that, it means that you'll be able to cater to that customer base you've already started building and that you've already started to generate traffic with. And you'll be able to use and leverage some similar keywords you've already identified. This tree visual is just one of many helpful tips that I provide in my updated Q4 guide. I've got it available to purchase separately in the description in the link below, or pay close attention, it's already included if you're a member inside my Simply Thrive Club. And if you're not already in the membership group, now is the perfect time to jump in because starting on July 22nd, we are kicking off another round of the 75 Thrive Challenge inside my membership, just in time for you to ramp up and get ready for Q4. If you've ever heard of 75 Hard in the fitness world, it's kind of like that, but way better because it's for your Etsy print-on-demand business. And did I mention that the prizes this round are going to be bigger and better than ever? I've partnered with Kittl, Printify, and Profit Tree to include some amazing giveaways in a drawing, and anyone who makes it to the end of the challenge will have a chance to win. And of course, we'll be having some fun and some prizes along the way. All of the partners and myself are so excited to see as many people as possible commit to growing not only their shop for 75 days, but also growing as an entrepreneur for 75 days. Because this challenge is all about mind, body, and business. It's going to be epic, and I hope you'll join me. I'll include a link for more information below, and if you're seeing this after July 22nd, no worries, my friend. You'll still have access to the holiday guide inside the membership, and of course, all of the other benefits if you'd still like to join. Now, let's get back to those ornaments. We've identified a top product option. We've talked about how to make sure they are reaching the right audience in your shop. Now, let's finish up with some designing. For this example, let's head over to my favorite design platform and I'll show you how I would design an ornament for a dog mom niche. First, I'm going to head to Printify and then I'm going to go to the ornament that I'm going to start with. So in this case, let's design a glass ornament. When I click on Start Designing, that will take me to the design template. And really all I want at this point is to download the design template so that I will have a nice outline and I can see exactly where my design margins are. Then let's head over to Kittl, where I like to do most of my designing these days, and start with a new project. I only need a square in this case, so I'm just going to do 3000 by 3000 as a square, and that will be perfect. It's bigger than what's necessary in Printify, so it'll give me a little bit of room in terms of resolution and sizing as well. First, I want to see what some options are for Christmas themes. And Kittl has tons of templates that you can choose from, which makes the design process a lot easier, and that's why I like to use them. So in this one, I simply added a design to a project. And then from there, that's because I'm going to take what was already available, and I'm just going to drop it onto what I started. I did this because sometimes the templates are in a square, so in this case I could have just started with it, but sometimes they're in different shapes, and so if you just add it to your project and drag it over to your pre-sized canvas, then you're good to go. Then I'm going to add the design template that we downloaded from Printify so that I can see exactly where my borders are showing up. I make sure I move it all the way to the back, and then you can also click on the little lock button on that layer so that it locks it into place. You don't accidentally move it around. Then I can start playing around with my design. I want to make sure it's in that white space because that means it won't get cut off in the printing process. One other thing I'm going to do really quick is I'm going to lower the opacity of my design template. So I unlock that layer, lower the opacity, and then lock it back. And that's just so that I can see what I'm doing with the design. Now I'm just going to go through and I'm going to start playing around with it. So I'm deleting all the stuff that I don't need. I'm going to leave in the little snowflakes. I'm going to make them white though, so that they're not kind of an off-white. And I'm going to make the background a little bit darker just so I can see what I am working with, because the ornament itself will be clear. And then because this is for a dog niche, I want it to be something specific for a milestone. So let's do first Christmas together. So the target audience for this would be someone getting a new puppy, for example. So then let's add in name here. I don't need that other artboard. And since we think of dogs as our best friends, let's add in best friends. So it's first Christmas together, and then best friends with a place for customization as well. You can add in the word forever under here just to make it a little different. And I want to change all of that off-white color to white. So I can do that with the project colors at the bottom to change them all at once. Let's actually add some more color in here. So I'm going to invert these. So I'm going to make the banner red, and then I'll make the name white. That looks better. I think that will stand out really nicely. And then let's create an image using Kittl's AI image generator, and their AI actually does really well. So let's say a cute dachshund face with a Santa hat. And for this one, let's go with cartoon as the style for this first one, and let's just see what we get. I like to try a couple different styles just to see the differences in what I get. That's pretty cute as a starting place. You can also remove the background, and so that it looks really nice. So that's one option. I'm going to do it again, and this time I'm going to choose the watercolor style because I really like how those frequently turn out. That looks really nice. So let's remove the background again, and there's still some splotches in there from kind of almost like paint splatter. So let's use Kittl's new eraser, which I am loving this function. Let's use Kittl's eraser, and I'm just going to get rid of those little splotches because we don't need those in there since we already have the snowflakes, and I don't want people to think that it's a printing error. So we'll just erase all around the edges to make sure we didn't miss any. There's one little spot there that I missed, so let's erase that out. And that is good. So I think I like the watercolor one. These tend to perform really well on Etsy. They give it, again, a little bit more of a handmade feel with that watercolor painting style. So let's move this all the way to the back. And sometimes if there are a lot of layers, it's just faster to move it this way. I want it in front of the snow, but behind the banner. And so now we'll get rid of the cartoon. We don't need that one. And then I realized we lost our snowflakes when I changed the color, so let's add that back in. And so I want to try adding a little something else. So there are a few different options here for images and previous images that people have created with AI, but you can also come to elements. And so I kind of want to have like little pine trees around the face just to add a little something extra. Add a little more color to the ornament and a little more flair. I want it to be specifically a winter pine tree. I'm envisioning something with maybe snow on it. That's kind of close, not quite. It'd be nice to have something that has kind of that similar watercolor feel to it, just so that it feels like it's one intentional image. That one's a little big, so we might need to go back to AI for this one. Let's just see what this looks like. It kind of works, but when you play around with images, sometimes you just have to kind of think about it and try a few different variations to see what works best. This one has a little bit of a silhouette of pine trees in the background, so that could potentially work. That's another option. Let's try AI again in this case. So I'm envisioning kind of a taller and skinnier, just so it fits on there better. Tall and skinny winter pine tree with snow on the branches. And I'm doing watercolor style again. Let's see what that looks like. It's a little bit too much of an image. I want something where I can just get a single tree in there. So let's try being a little more specific in our prompt. We'll add single, and sometimes if you add no background, that can help a little bit too. So you can see we're getting a few different options here. None of them are quite the right aesthetic that I'm looking for. This one's a little bit closer. Let's try a couple more options. Kittl has a co-pilot where you can choose from similar images based on what you already created. So that's kind of a fun new feature that I have found helpful, where you can just simply replace what you created and what the original image was. So that's an option. We're getting a little closer, still not quite there. Let's try one more round. That one looks pretty good. So let's remove the background. And then I've got a little bit of extra on the bottom, so I can make some adjustments here. I can move this around. Let's try how this looks. And then I'm going to erase around the bottom here because I don't want that overhanging. I want that behind the banner. So we'll just carefully erase around some of those details so that nothing is overhanging. Adjust that, and then we're going to move it all the way to the back because I want it all the way in the back of the design with everything else in front of it. And I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to put another one on the other side. Make some adjustments. I might have that be a different size. Just kind of adjust that and play around with it until it's kind of where I think that looks good. And then I'm going to flip this one just so that it's almost like a mirror image. So now I like that. I can get rid of the other ones. And that's looking pretty good. I make a few more final adjustments here, and then I think instead of forever at the bottom, let's make this another opportunity to customize it, because again, if we're thinking about milestones, people will like it for the year. So I'm going to make this a 2024, and I got rid of the transformation on it so that it's just a nice straight line. And the last thing I will do is I'm going to unlock that back layer so that I can then delete our template that's in the background, and then we are good to download, and then need to upload into Printify. Sometimes I will make some final adjustments based on the actual sizing once it's on the ornament, because again, I want to maximize all the space that I'm using so that the design ends up being as big as possible. And that looks perfect. You can see, even though some of this you couldn't see on the design template, like the white letters on there at the bottom show up really well on here, and that is going to be exactly what I'm looking for. So this is good to go, and it's ready to save as a product so that it can be listed on Etsy. And as promised, here is a quick little tutorial on how to tie the ribbon that comes with the ornaments. For this one, I'm using the acrylic ornament. You can see it comes packaged really nicely and all together. Once you've got your ornament, grab the string that it comes with, and you're going to fold it in half so that the ends roughly come together and meet. Then loop that around your finger so that you can tie a knot with one end going through the loop and pulling a knot. I typically try to keep it towards the end, but essentially imagine this is what will be hanging from the branch of your Christmas tree. Then I kind of ball up the end of the loop, pull that through the hole in the ornament, and then make a little loop with your finger so that you can pull the end of the knot through that loop, then pull it tight. That will allow it to hang nice and flat when it's on a Christmas tree or wherever you plan on hanging your ornament. And that's all there is to it. If you order a sample for yourself, you could also do something like this and turn it into a listing video for your ornaments. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you're looking for additional tips for Q4 success, I'll make sure to link my Q4 playlist for you. And make sure you're subscribed so that you don't miss out on new Q4 videos coming up for this year. And in the meantime, don't forget to check out my Q4 guide below or my membership where the guide is also included. Thanks for watching. I'm so glad you're here, and I'll see you in the next one.